Hello and welcome back. I am Chris with Marksman Shooting Sports in Westfield, Indiana. You are watching Marksman TV. Welcome back to another weekly used gun review. Remember, in these videos, I take about 8 used firearms that have come through the door and give you guys about a 3 to 4 minute review of each to give you guys an idea of some different things that do exist out there on the market. Remember, the point of this video is strictly to be educational and entertainment. We are not making this video to sell you anything, just to keep in accordance with YouTube's policies. Anyway, with all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump into it now. Alright guys, remember the format of this video is we will start off with the most common and move through the least common as the video progresses. So starting us off, I have a Stevens Model 200. As many of you know, Stevens was actually purchased by Savage back around the early 1900s, 1920s, 1927 I think is when they took full possession of the Stevens Manufacturing Company. I'd have to brush up my history there. But at the time, that would actually make Savage the largest arms manufacturer in the country. Now, the Stevens brand, of course, obviously still exists under Savage, and pretty much what you have in a package like this is a base entry level, sort of like a base do-all model from the Savage 110 line. So a lot of similarities there, but the Stevens line is, you know, definitely something that's going to be your more economical entry level base rifle. Now, with that being said, you do still get a lot of design features that you would get out of the higher end Savage rifles, like again from the Savage 110. Those include a free floated barrel and a button rifled barrel. The bolt design is exactly similar to what you get on Savage products, including the higher priced options. Now, these brand new on the market would be about $300 used with the scope, you know, $200 to $250 right now. All of them come with this basic, it is sort of like a very lightweight polymer stock in this gray color with a black finish on the barrel. Now, you do have a short and a long action. This is a short action as it is chambered in .223, but they do make long action calibers such as 30-06 and 7mm. So of course you can get those options too. Now, the things that this would compete with in the market would be, interesting enough, like the Savage Axis from the Savage line, things like the Ruger American, trying to think the Mossberg Patriot series. So again, you know, for that entry-level price point, you know, there are other things that come into play here that are good competitors. So with anything else, it's good to just pick them up and get a feel for it. It is a very lightweight rifle, even with this large scope on it. And this is a Bushnell. I would have to look into that more, but it's a banner scope, so not a very high-end optic with the rings on here. So really nice throw. Again, short action, so a nice short throw. Being a button rifled barrel, free floated, good accuracy reports out of these, even in higher calibers, 308s and things like that. So again, for the price point, if you find one of these used, $200 to $250 with the scope on it, really not a bad thing to just take as a secondary brush gun. You got a buddy in from out of town you want to go hunting with, just something good to have around. And in .223, something like this, a really nice lightweight varmint gun you don't have to put a lot of money to. If you live on a ranch or have some property, you need something for a coyote, a good way to get into it. Something that's going to deliver good, reliable accuracy out of a not very expensive package. So anyway, worth taking a look. Okay, up next is actually a favorite of mine. This is the FN FNS 9C. Now, the FN FNS would come out on the market in 2011. In 2012, they came out with the long slide version, the FNS 9LC for the 9 and the 40LC for the 40. So this was offered a 9mm and 40. Prior to this, they had the FNX. The FNX had a hammer, and like I said, 2011, they came out with this version, the S standing for striker. So the same firearm, of course, with a striker operating system rather than a hammer, double single action, if you will. Now, the firearm does have a trigger safety and a manual thumb safety as well, section of railing, interchangeable back straps. So, you know, for about the 2010 to 2020 range, this sort of layout has become popular with the interchangeable back straps, the trigger safeties, you know, things like that. One other feature that, to me at the time, I mean, when we first opened and we were getting these things in, they were still relatively new. These would come, of course, with 3 magazines. There were not too many firearms that came brand new, especially in the $500 price point with 3 mags. Everything, you know, again, around that time typically came with 2 magazines. Now, the cool thing about the FNS 9C that I really liked, and a reason that I sold a lot of these to people, is it had a good way of meeting different practicums or many different purposes because of those magazines. So the FNS 9C would come with 3 mags like this, same with the 40. You have the full-size 17-round magazine with a sleeve here. So here you have the full-size grip of the full-size handgun, of course, shorter barrel. So if you wanted to use this for range use or home defense, it was still a very viable, kind of that full-size-ish handgun. Now, if you wanted to conceal carry it, maybe you want that pinky extension or to use it on the range, you have a 12-round magazine with a pinky extension. So sort of a mid-size feeling, maybe like a Glock 26, a little bit bigger than a Glock 26, but like a Smith & Wesson M&P 9C, something like that, where it is still small enough that you can get away with carrying it, but really nice comfort ergonomics there. But if you wanted, excuse me, phone just rang, but if you wanted to go even smaller, again, you have another 12-round magazine with a flat floor plate, which gets you even, smaller. Pinky kind of basically hangs off the bottom like a Glock 26. But here you're at the smallest compact variant you can get, or in its size, for, ease of concealment, things like that. So nice versatility on these. Magazine release is ambidextrous. Safety is also ambidextrous, and your slide stop is ambidextrous, so fully ambidextrous design. So for what this offered at the price point, new, $500 to $550 at the time, really, really cool package, and I still really like it. Now, these things had come down in price, again, because of, they had a new release, the 509 series, which sort of replaced this. So these you could really find inexpensively, especially used. We had them $300 to $350 in good condition. Now, with everything going on, availability and pricing has gone up. So, these things with its original box and everything right now, maybe $400 to $500, but a really nice handgun. I've always really liked these things. So if you do see one, definitely worth taking a look. I don't think you'll be disappointed, and I even still prefer this over the 509. So really early on with good ambi controls, extra magazines, different versatility for the time frame that it came out. I mean, I think it still stands as a viable option today compared to other more current options. So just a cool handgun. Now here's another one that came out in 2011. This is a Ruger SR 1911. Now, I don't know if many of you guys remember this. These are snap caps, by the way. But I don't know if many of you guys remember this, but when these came out, there was so much hype and anticipation about this handgun. There were like actually waiting lists to purchase these things for like a year. And the prices on them actually, upon release, were pretty high because of the demand for them. I think people were selling them out at like $1,000, $1,200, things like that. Whereas the typical retail price on one of these is something around the $750 to $800 price point under normal circumstances. Now, as a 1911, it is a very standard, basic design. You have nice upgraded Cocobolo wood grips with the Ruger emblem there, extended beaver tail safety. It has the standard 1911 version of mainspring housing, not the A1 with nice serrations on the back. They did offer these in a government, a commander, and an officer model, and the full weight version, the steel frame version. Plus, it's actually, these are a cast frame, but they also have the lightweight alloy version, which is what this is called. This is a lightweight commander because it is the lightweight and it is a 4 1/4 inch, making it the commander option. Bitone full black. I believe they had a full black in the stainless. They did recently come out with a 10mm. They have a 9. They have the 45 ACP as most common. So it runs the SR series, SR 1911 series, runs the full gambit of pretty much options that exist out for the 1911 platform. So the Ruger take on it, the standard offering had the skeletonized hammer, is what I'm trying to say. Nice. I believe that these are Novak sights with a really nice set of sights on them that came as standard. Nice wood grip. So for the package, for at the time, again, $750, $800, we're back in the era where things like Kimber and Colt and Springfield are sort of ruling the market. And the Springfield option, the standard GI mil spec, also at $700 to $800, was very basic and bare bones compared to this, which again is why I think these were highly anticipated. Now, I have sold a lot of these in my store, and to my customers that have bought them, everybody has always reported on their reliability and their accuracy. So these SR 1911s really rate in with some of the highest or most highly coveted 1911s that a lot of my customers have purchased and owned. Going along with that, I sort of see like the modern day version of this being like the Magnum Research, the Desert Eagle 1911 G, the U and the C, offering such a nice option at the price point. Again, in 2011, at the price point, this was a really, really, really good package, and it still stands to be a good package today. We don't sell as many of these today as we used to, but you know, again, with other things out on the market, the 1911 market has sort of exploded with all the different products that exist. But really, really, really nice. Trigger on it, really good single action trigger. Nice reset, and the lightweight version, this is definitely concealable, single stack, 45 ACP. Still a really, really cool package. New, still $750, $800 when and where you can find them. The used market right now on these is a little bit elevated. 600 to 700 is what I'm seeing. Typically, you know, you'd be around maybe 5 to 6. So anyway, very, very cool product. Definitely happy to get one in. All right, up next I have a Springfield XDM 10mm full size. These are actually really, really cool pistols. The history of the XD series is interesting, and I've gone over this before on one of these videos. Basically, you know, a lot of people, you see made in Croatia. Let's see if we can find it. It's going to say made in Croatia somewhere. There it is, right up at the top, Springfield Armory, Croatia. So, back in 1990, the Croatian sidearm was the PHP MV9, which was sort of a hybrid Beretta P38, weird conglomeration, interesting Rube Goldstein looking device. It was not the best firearm, and after the Yugoslavian War in about 1995, 1996, Croatia would put out solicitations for a new sidearm, of which a new model was selected for military use. Now, a company called Intrac imported that into the United States. It was about the year 2000 when that was went into Croatian service, and would start coming into the country here as surplus and actually as new imported firearms through Intrac, and that was known as the HS-2000. It was basically the first generation XD as we know it today, with some minor, you know, modifications that had been made to it. Those came in and they retailed at about the $250 price point, and nobody wanted to touch them with a 10-foot pole. They were these weird Croatian handguns that nobody knew anything about. Springfield and all their, you know, in all their wisdom, decided to basically get on board with the production and distribution of the HS-2000, renamed the XD with Springfield's roll markings on it, giving the American consumer market a little bit more you know, trust in the product, given that they had already known the name Springfield. And they basically, it was one of the biggest marketing and distribution or redistribution wins of the firearm industry, because the XD as it stands today has been one of the most popular polymer frame handguns on the market. Now, they have gone through many redesigns, the XDM being one, and then now the XD Mod 2. This is an XDM if you want to call it like a third generation firearm. Traditionally, these were offered in 9, 40, and 45, and then of course it was a few years ago they came on board with the 10mm option, and they actually have been very popular. A 10mm round is a very good round. It is essentially a 40 Smith & Wesson. The casing has been stretched out to give it more terminal velocity, more muzzle energy. People use it for bear defense. People use it in some scenarios for hunting. Just so the 10mm round is just a cool, different package, and actually this in a 10mm is a very interesting animal. Lots of people have looked for these. Again, for, you know, deep woods hiking, really good to have something like this on you to defend yourself against a black bear or something like that. So that's sort of the practical application of this, or to have a range gun in a different caliber, something you can go out and enjoy. Maybe you have one of these in 9, you want something with a little bit more punch to it. Now, the XDM, XD, XD Mod 2s have always been in about the $500 to $550 price point. The first gen XDs, you know, you could get those used for $200 to $300 now. Used XDMs typically $300 to $400. XD Mod 2s are kind of in there too. Right now, everything has been boosted up because of availability of firearms. About $50 to $100 there is about where the pricing is elevated to. But under normal circumstances, an XDM 10mm in the box, both magazines, should be used for about, you know, the $400 price point is about where they would go. So anyway, really, really, really cool firearms. I love to get this kind of stuff in. Always buyers on this, especially 10mm of any variety have always been popular, at least around here. So just a cool pistol, got to get it in. Okay, up next is a rifle from the Ruger American series. This is the American Ranch rifle. Now these would be chambered, and this one here is a 350 Legend. So 350 Legend, 7.62 by 39, 5.56, 6.5 Grundle, 300 Blackout, and 450 Bushmaster. I believe that about covers it. If you guys are familiar with the standard Ruger American Ranch, or I'm sorry, the standard Ruger American series, basically you have a polymer shoulder stock, a free floated barrel. The standard American had a thinner profile. They had the Predator, which was a 6.5 Creedmoor with the green stock, and it had scope mounts on it. And then they've come out with a variation like this, the Ranch rifle. So on the Ranch rifle, they basically shorten the barrel to 16 inches. The front of the muzzle is threaded. It's got a thicker profile barrel. It uses your traditional intermediate rifle cartridges, up to about, full length cartridge, so, up to 450 Bushmaster, short action, but it uses the standard American bolt. Now they have a detachable magazine, 5-round capacity. They've added a scope mount, so this makes a really handy ranch hand, as the name would suggest. Hunting rifle, brush gun, anything like that. The new retail price on one of these is right now about $450. Used, you should be about in the $300 price point. So again, for 300 bucks, a really nice ranch hand, easy to use, take it around with you, or a secondary hunting rifle, with the 30 caliber rounds. Most places you can do hog hunting, stuff like that. 5-round capacity, and some of the larger calibers, the capacity is actually down to 3, which is fine for most hunting purposes. Interchangeable magazines, nice feature there as well. Tang safety back here. And then all your other functions are just like any of the other American series firearms. You have a tri-lug rotating locking bolt. Really not much else to say about it. FDE color, like I said, free floated barrel. Very simple basic package. Accu trigger style trigger mechanism here, which again you get on the basic Americans too. So the American series came out from Ruger, gosh, about maybe 5 or 6 years ago, so it's not that old on the market. But for the price point, really makes a cool package, and definitely worth just taking a look at if it's kind of falls into the niche that you need to fill. Okay, now this is one I've never had in here before, and one I actually don't know that much about. This is a Boido side-by-side 20 gauge shotgun. Of course, break open, and it uses a double trigger system to fire it, and a safety, actually this, yeah, safety right here in the back. From what I glean, or what I have gathered from looking around the different shotgun forums, these are actually made by the same firm that makes the Stoeger firearms out of Brazil. Now this one here was imported by SS Kresge, Kresge, company from Troy, Michigan. And just basically by looking at the metal and the wood, I would guess that this was probably made in the 70s or 80s. It's just a guess. I do know that they are still manufactured today. The Stoeger Uplander basically uses the exact same wood, metal finish, everything like that. So I don't know why there's two different importation names, Boido and Stoeger, but there you are. Now this one is in nice condition. There is a little bit of surface rust on it, a scratch here in the stock, and on Gunbroker I've seen these side-by-side 20 gauges going for about the $200 to $300 price point, so I would imagine that this would go somewhere in there. Now the side-by-side shotguns have actually always been very popular, whether it's something like this or the Uplanders or the CZ side-by-sides. At least with customers in our store, there is a lot of interest in this type of stuff, especially from like the cowboy action shooting, people who like the sort of old Western style of firearms. Go out and shoot something a little bit different. Again, as long as you keep the barrel length over 18.5 inches, this I believe is about 24, so about to there. If you wanted to get an 18.5 inch barrel or a side-by-side with a shorter barrel, Century has brought some in. You can do that in actually side-by-sides in 12 or 20 gauge are a lot of fun to shoot. A lot of people enjoy them. You can get them in 410 as well. Also, they make great rabbit guns, things like that. So you can take them out for hunting, especially if you have capacity restrictions. So there's always buyers for side-by-sides, especially in the lower end market, the $200 to $300 price point. They always make just that extra nice shotgun to have around, whether you're hunting or just plinking on the range. Just something a little bit different to have and own. But anyway, there is, again, one that I have not had in here before, a Boido side-by-side. Okay, up next is a very popular rifle with a really big collector following. There are probably books written about this rifle, so we'll cover it very briefly. This is the Mossberg 144 series bolt action 22 target rifle. Now in this series there was a bunch of different options that came in the lineup. The basic model 144, which used the Mossberg S130 rear sight. Then you have the 144 LS, which was the exact same as the 144, but it came with the Lyman 57 MS sight. Then the 144 LSA, A being its first variational change, that was the Mossberg. It was changed to the Mossberg S331 rear sight, which actually is on here too. And then you get into this one, which was the 144 LSB for the second variational change, and that is the same as the A, except they went to a heavy barrel contoured profile. Now, what makes this rifle the most popular was its use within the military. Of course, the Army adopted a variation of this, just known as the 44 US or the 144 US, which was identical to this, the 144 LSB, except they simplified it and added cost-saving measures to it. They went from a walnut to a birch stock, and then they changed the rear sight here. They would go to a Redfield Model 75 rear sight. Okay, basically, you have GIs that are training. This was in the early 1940s. Pearl Harbor has happened. We're gearing up for the European theater. They needed to get more of these produced for training purposes, and you didn't need things like really high-end, the S331 sight. You didn't need the nice walnut stock. Even the front sight was very simple, very simplified, but you did have the heavier profile barrel. So the mechanics on the rifle are very nice for bench rest target shooting. First of all, you have a detachable 10-round magazine. The magazine is a very simple sheet metal magazine. The release itself is just sort of like a leaf spring tension retaining release there, similar to what you would find on things like maybe a Marlin Model 60. The trigger guard itself is made out of, there's a guide back here in front of the release. You got to fit that into like a little T-slot. There it goes. Trigger guard is made of nylon and does have finger groove contours right here for your dominant shooting hand. Right side release, very short throw, of course, 22. Interesting enough, you would have to remove the rear sight if you wanted to pull the bolt out of the action. It's a very high cone back here on the back of the stock and a very thick profile up here, which is again indicative of a bench rest rifle. Little section of like a slotted rail section down here if you want to put on a bipod or whatnot. As I had mentioned, the collector market on these is actually very big, but they do not demand a huge amount of money. For what they are, for being as highly precisely made as a 22 bench gun, and for the amount of collectors out there, they don't demand that much money. What you see here is probably the pinnacle or the most highly desired variation of this rifle, and it would only top out at about $300 to $400 retail. Of course, the standard variation models are going to get less expensive there, so you might get them, $150, $200 would be pretty standard, believe it or not. So if you are looking for a really nice high quality bench 22 rifle, these Mossbergs are great buys, and that's maybe why there's so many collectors on them. The military versions will have military provenance military inspection marks, flaming bomb cartouches, even say U.S. property on them. Even those don't command a huge amount of money, $200 to $300. So again, if you want one of those that serves as both a nice 22 plinking training rifle and something that has U.S. military provenance, collectability to it, keep an eye out for one of those, the 44 U.S. variants. So yeah, just a really nice, cool rifle. Again, with potentially some military history there to it as well. So yeah, definitely take a look if you see one. Okay, last but not least is one you're probably not going to see around too much anymore, unfortunately, because this was discontinued last year in 2019. So this is a CZ Model 512 Tactical. In 2015, CZ did team up with ATI to come out with the tactical chassis for the very popular Model 512 platform, which is known for being very reliable and very accurate. In this configuration, it is still, it's an aluminum alloy receiver section, a full length of 1913 rail with sights on top, similar to what you're going to find on like the Scorpion type of sights up here at the top. Birdcage flash hider at the front, fully free-floated barrel. This one has a 10-round detachable magazine. It is polymer, made out of polymer. They did have extended mags. I think there were 25-round mags that stuck out quite a bit further, out here. New on the market, these things were $500-ish, brand new. Right now, they're going for quite a bit higher than $500. Definitely way up from the $500 price point. Not too much data on what these are selling for new, but the highest I've seen one go for in 22 Magnum was actually at about $1,000 with its original box and everything. Now, this does not have its original box and in 22 long, so I imagine somewhere between $500 and $1,000 is where this would land. Adjustable, collapsing stock, really nice nice ergonomic grip. Like I said, the sights are nice. If you want to put an optic on here, you can. Harris style mounting points, you can change the positioning where you might want to put a sling loop or a bipod. So for the 22, especially in the tactical market, this is really a cool option. Now, a lot of people in the rimfire community were upset when they discontinued this package, as it was pretty popular, but I guess sales did not warrant keeping the product in circulation, so it was discontinued. This is the only one of these I've ever had in here or seen, so really no personal sales data on these, but definitely a really cool platform. To me, would sort of fall in line with like the Ruger Precision, which is a bolt action rifle. It sort of has this similar aesthetic look and feel to it. So a nice, 22 precision rifle. If you do see one, I guess it's more of a collector's piece as much as a CZ512 could be, with the price points at where they are. Or if you're just looking for a very high quality 22 long rifle, again, with the pricing up on them, expensive for what they are, but I guess the demand is out there for them, being, what they are, a nice, 512 that is not going to be easy to find in this configuration anymore. So anyway, happy to get this in, and that'll take our number 8 spot for this video this week. Well, that is all the time I have for you today on these. Thank you so much for stopping by and checking out this video. If you enjoyed, please let me know by hitting that like button. And if you want to see more content like this, remember we do upload these videos every single week. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and bell notification button so you are aware when new content is posted. Anyway, guys, I'm going to leave you off there. I am Chris with Marksman Shooting Sports in Westfield, Indiana. You are watching Marksman TV. I will see you next time.